My daughter waited until the Thanksgiving turkey was carved before telling me to move out of the house I paid for. She didn't even look up. She just kept chewing, eyes on her plate, voice flat and steady, as if she were reading from a script she had rehearsed. "You need to move out, Mom. This arrangement isn't working anymore." Her husband Eli froze mid-bite, his fork suspended in the air. His knuckles whitened around the handle, but he stayed silent, staring at his plate like he wished it would swallow him whole. I set the carving knife down quietly. My name is Marina Hull, and at 68 I can recognize a line practiced in a mirror. Tessa had planned this moment. She was waiting for an audience. "Really?" My voice was calmer than I felt. "I pay the rent, I pay the bills, I buy the groceries." Silence spread across the table, thick and bitter. Even the ceiling fan felt as if it stopped spinning. Eli darted his eyes to Tessa, hoping for direction. She ignored him and gave a small, triumphant smirk. "It's time for boundaries, Mom. We've talked about this." No, she had talked. I had listened. I had nodded. I had compromised. Months earlier, I moved into their Charleston home because she said they were drowning, behind on everything, afraid they might lose the house. I stepped in because I thought family meant something. I paid the bills to keep the lights on, filled the empty refrigerator, covered the rent when Eli's hours were cut again. And I did it quietly, believing I was helping them survive a hard season. Instead, they had rehearsed my removal. What Tessa didn't know was that I had heard her the night before. I'd been walking toward the kitchen when I overheard her whispering to Eli. "Once she's out, we'll rent the room. Easy money. Don't say anything until after Thanksgiving. It'll be cleaner that way." I froze in the hallway with the trash bag in my hand. My daughter sounded casual, cheerful, as though removing me was no different from rearranging furniture. That night, I slept with the weight of their decision pressing against my ribs. Now, at Thanksgiving dinner, the moment had come. I picked up my napkin, folded it neatly beside my plate, and stood without a word. In my room, I packed slowly, no tears, only a stillness settling in a clarity that comes when the last illusion finally breaks. I placed the papers I'd kept insurance documents, birth certificates, and the lease for the Charleston house into my suitcase. Then Daniel's old watch, the one he wore until the hospital removed it. A birthday card from a younger, gentler Tessa slipped from a drawer. "I'd be lost without you, Mom," it said. I left it behind. I booked a week at a motel in North Charleston and walked out of the house quietly. No scene, no shouting, just the clean exit they wanted. The motel was shabby, the air conditioner rattled, and the lamp flickered. But it was peaceful. My phone sat silent on the nightstand, no calls from Tessa, no messages, not even a question about where I'd gone. When it finally rang, it was my sister Fiona. "Tessa called me hysterical," she said. "She said you screamed at her, broke a plate, and stormed out." I sat down slowly. "That never happened. I've paid every bill since I moved in. I left quietly." Fiona exhaled. "I thought so. Her story didn't feel right." When we hung up, I opened my laptop and wrote a single message to family and close friends. I explained the truth when I moved in, why I paid what I paid, and what had happened at Thanksgiving. I included just one line at the end. "I am safe," and I left peacefully. Reactions came fast. Some believed me, some defended Tessa, but the story was no longer hers alone to twist. The next day, my neighbor Ruby called. Someone had forwarded her screenshots of what Tessa was posting online. "She says you refused to help with bills," Ruby said, "that you caused scenes, that supporting you drained her emotionally." Ruby paused. "I'm sorry you had to hear it from me." After I hung up, I found an apartment on James Island, a clean, simple, senior-friendly building with a walking path and wide elevators. I signed the lease that afternoon, relief settling into me like a slow breath after a long night. 2 days after I moved in, Tessa showed up at my door holding a store-bought pie. "Mom, this whole thing has gotten blown out of proportion," she said. "You embarrassed me with that message." I wrote the truth. "You could have come to me first." "I did, for months." Her phone rang. She answered without thinking. "No, she hasn't signed anything yet," she whispered sharply. "I said I'm handling it." She froze when she realized I'd heard. That was Eli, she stammered. No, I said. It wasn't confusion. It was honesty. For the first time, she looked unsure. I didn't invite her inside. After that, life softened. Ruby visited with pastries. Fiona stopped by and told me I seemed lighter. Mrs. Granger from church said, "You look brighter. That's what happens when you stop carrying what isn't yours." Bit by bit, peace returned. 1 week later, sorting through the documents from Tessa's house, I noticed the lease again. My name was the only one on it. Months earlier, when I took over payments, the property manager had transferred tenancy to me by default. Tessa and Eli had no legal standing in the house at all. I called the property manager. "The lease ends in 30 days, she said. "Do you want to renew?" "No," I said. "Please notify the occupants they'll need to vacate." The notice went out the next morning. By noon, my phone exploded with calls. "Mom, what is this?" Tessa cried. "We have nowhere to go." "You told me to leave a house I paid for," I said. "I'm honoring your wishes for everyone." "It wasn't like that." "You have 30 days, Eli called next. "I can't do this anymore," he said. "The bills, the cousin, everything's falling apart." 3 days later, he moved out. Tessa held on until the final week, packing in frantic silence. On move-out day, she didn't speak to me. Maybe she couldn't. She left with the same entitlement she had walked in with, only now without the house she thought she controlled. I moved into a brighter apartment overlooking the marsh. Clean air, fresh paint, quiet mornings that belonged only to me. My daughter once told me to move out. Watching her carry her last box down the porch steps, I finally understood something simple. You can survive almost anything once you stop letting the wrong people live in your life.